I am Josefina, and I am the CFO of Cielo Hammocks, and I also the director of Cielo Foundation. I was born and raised in Mexico, in the south of Mexico, which is dramatically different in terms of culture and heritage to the rest of Mexico. Our heritage is Mayan, and it's very hot. And so the custom is to sleep in hammocks to survive the heat throughout the day and night. They are very intricate to our culture, to who we are. They are a fixture in a home. My first job was with the Mexican Exim Bank in Miami, and that was my first work experience abroad. And I realized that there was so much I had to learn because I had not had professional experiences outside the province. And so I decided that I needed to get a master's degree. And I looked at all the different programs. The master's at Georgetown really caught my attention. So I applied, I got in, I sold everything I owned, my car, furniture, everything I had, and moved to the US with all the cash I was able to gather. Got a job at a bank in New York. I needed a company that was large enough that would sponsor my visa. That was something I did not realize when I came to the US. And at the same time, I noticed my brother, who is 4 years older than me, who had also come to the US to do a master's degree. He had started a company. His story was that he moved to the US and couldn't sleep at the dorm, and he asked my mother for his hammock so he could sleep comfortable. And my mom took out the hammock, and everybody was, oh, this is so fun. And then he thought, well, maybe other people will really enjoy hammocks like we do. He asked my mother to send a few more and try to sell them at a flea market, and he sold them. Like, okay, we got a business idea here. So he moved down to Mexico. And by the time I was in New York, he had started a little bit with this online sales and whatnot. And I said with my bonus that year that instead of buying something expensive for myself, I would invest with him and be a partner in this entrepreneurship journey that he was starting. What has set us apart is the innovation that we had over a traditional product and over the traditional use of the artisan craft.
We are the only ones who have this material called Durason, who really lasts outdoors. Our idea is to give to the weavers, to the artists, people to make a great product with a great material. That's our job, to find a great material.
And we saw it with our customers on the Riviera Maya, who are all hotels with hammocks that are set outdoors for heavy duty use. And for the first time, they were like, oh my God, we have a hammock that can last at least 6 months. And so we've become a steady supplier for all that market up and down the Riviera Maya. It started growing, and I started getting more involved in different parts of the process, not only kind of the finance part, but also the social part that was very evident from the get-go of what we were doing. 3 years later, I decided that that's what I wanted to do full-time, and quit the job at JP Morgan and decided to be full entrepreneur with this hammock project. When you no longer have only financial revenue as a goal, that changes your framework, changes how you do things, and changes how you see success. Because success to us is not that alone. It is important. We're not a charity that needs to be thrown money at. We are a business, and we make sure we stay in the black. But it's not the only important thing. At the same level is how many families are we employing, how many children are benefiting from the work that we do, how many young women are we sending to college that is going to have such an incredible impact in their lives, the life of their children, and the life of their grandchildren. Just when it's part of your decision making, when you wake up and you know you work out, and that's part of your life, it no longer becomes work. It is your lifestyle. For sure, it's the reward that we get from the work that we do. It is more work, but it's so embedded already in our decision making and how that is a priority that is not a second thought, is the first thought in how those decisions are made. Lowe's was one of our first huge customers. The way it happened is that they were looking to source outside China. I think 95% of whatever is sold at Lowe's comes from China. And as a strategic plan, they decided that they needed to source from Brazil and Mexico. And we showed as one of the largest, if not the largest exporter out of Mexico for the hammock. And they came with an incredibly silly large order that, of course, handmade, could not be produced. And that was part of their exercise as well, to not demand 100,000 pieces of everything. That if they were going to work with small suppliers, that they needed to adapt to the volumes of small suppliers. And that was part of the exercise that we did. And then they decided to feature us because they learned everything else, right? They learned about the impact that we were having. And so they thought, oh my God, we need to feature that as well in our screens and in our, I don't know how many, 40,000 stores and whatnot. So that was also another exercise that they did very interestingly. They selected the 200 stores in the US where they had the highest hammock sales. And that's the stores that we went into. Because otherwise they push orders and then you have to ship to 40,000 stores, right? So this way we had 200 stores that we knew that we were selling to physical products. And then of course you have the online, which is not a problem. I think another very important thing, as I was telling you earlier, of the difficulty of growing a business when you cannot access affordable financing. You grow slower because you have to count on your own equity. So what Dad did is that I was able to use that purchase order to submit an application for a grant with the Department of Economy in Mexico. And that grant, we were able to purchase and build a facility in one of the villages where we currently operate all of this. That created incredibly large efficiencies in terms of transportation. It reduced our carbon footprint, but it also allowed us to work with more weavers and make the process faster.
So here is the warehouse of raw materials and hammocks. And this, for example, is going to weigh 1 kilo because each piece of this is 200 grams. I give it 1 kilo and you return me a hammock 1 kilo.
One of our most lengthy processes was quality control. Basically was the bottleneck of our process to producing, shipping product. And that is because only people who are artisans are able to do quality control. But having moved that part of the process to the village where everybody knows how to do quality control, our productivity went from 0 to 100 very quick. One of the challenges was how tools are set up in Mexico for entrepreneurship and financing. We set up a company in the US, but the production and everything happened in Mexico. And so Mexico was the only one, the entity was the only one who could get financing through a bank. And interest rates in Mexico are horrendous. You don't find anything for less than 18%. So after being in the US and knowing all the tools and all the infrastructure that is set up for small businesses, it truly is a crime if you don't dare to do it. Because no other nation in the world, I don't think, has as much infrastructure and tools to really set up a business to be successful, especially because I can see the comparison and I can see how we had to build it with equity and how expensive that is, and how much slower it is to grow a business when there's no financing. It's just equity that you're putting in. So you're amassing, returns to put back into business so you can buy the machine, so you can do this. So it's a much slower process of growing than it would be otherwise in the US. Right about the time 2016, 2018, right there, we decided to launch very strongly with the brand Cielo, which is when our certifications had consolidated and we decided that we needed to be more outspoken about our work and the story behind these hammocks. So we came out with the brand Cielo. And at the time, we were still doing 80% wholesale, 20% retail. And our goal was to then eventually move to a 50-50. That didn't quite happen. We were still spending so much time on marketing and building the brand, and it was hard to turn some of our wholesalers into the Cielo brand because some of them had created their own brands. And so that was a struggle and a hard conversation that we were having, and they didn't quite see the benefits of dropping their own thing to carry the Cielo brand. Then the pandemic happened and our own retail stores were shut down. And a lot of our wholesale orders got canceled because our customers got their stores shut down as well. And so that was a huge awakening moment to say we cannot lay anyone off and we need to keep these weavers weaving. We decided that that was the time that we needed to put our time and effort into shifting from that 80-20 to a 50-50. And that what has happened since then is that the Mexican market really exploded. And we have found that it's now a faster growing market for us than the US, which is a much more mature market. When you're an entrepreneur, you need to be ready for change. You need to be quick to change. And knowing that there's no bureaucracy and we do 3 jobs in one day and everybody around us do 3 and 4 jobs in one day, that helped us to be very quick to change. And so one of the biggest sellers right now are decorative pieces. So it's the same technique, it's the same handwork that our weavers have this gifted hands to do, but we're doing hanging pieces or lamps. I think that it's not that I think of a legacy. I want my children to see and appreciate through the work that I do that always in whatever they set themselves to do, there has to be not only ethics, but something for the greater good. How important it is for whatever work they decide that they want to do, that the world needs people with ethical principles and ethical values, and to have truly social impact for everybody to be uplifted. To me, that would be the most important thing. I leave them with the work that I'm doing. I am Josefina. I am the CFO of Cielo Hammocks, and I am a queen at work.